Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. I ain't got any time to waste, man. They packed the episode this week. It's on the TV. It's on my shirt. You know what we're talking about. Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in spoiler-filled into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Episode 4, The Whole World is Watching. And before we start to jump in, as I literally just mentioned, this is a spoiler review. I am going to spoil the crap, out of... If you haven't watched one of these before, I am one you should probably just see, most likely at a very large time. And I talk about everything. So if you don't want anything spoiled, and I recommend you don't, because the show is wonderful when you get caught off guard by the surprises that it just gives us every week. So if you don't want any spoilers, but you just want to get, hyped, in the mood to watch the episode later, boom, jump up there, man, check out the non-spoiler, watch that episode, come back here for all the spoiler discussion goodies, and now hopefully if you've left, it's just me and all you folks who have watched the episode, and I tell you, man, Marvel just impresses me on so many levels, to the point where, I'm impressed on a weekly basis by just the titles of the episodes. And this even goes back to WandaVision, man. The titles are just so freaking good. And I love this week's title, man. The whole world is watching, right? You got the whole world watching the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Inside the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you have the whole world basically watching what we're watching just from, news perspectives, right? They're just stories being told on the TV. You got a talking head telling you about what's happening, kind of what you're watching right now to a degree, right? So you got the whole world tuning into anything that Captain America is doing. You got a pair of Avengers over here, so if Bucky and Sam are doing something, the whole world is watching that. Now you got Karli Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers. Anytime they do anything, because they're jumping all over the world, everybody is tuning in. Makes a ton of sense. But just outside of those two concepts, the other thing you have happening, and I think speaks to a larger thing in just the world in general, is the fact that the whole world is watching through the screen of a phone, man. There have been 2 instances now in the last 2 weeks where someone's gotten into some sort of a fight or situation that maybe they shouldn't have been in, and a bunch of people are catching it on camera, man, right? Last week, you got Bucky in the Brass Monkey Saloon just going to town on people to help Zemo out, and we know rule number 2, you can't hurt anybody. I still think at some point some video will get back to his therapist, and that'll either be a gag or it could be something serious for the end of the season. But then this week, Mr. John Walker does something that he probably shouldn't do. No, we're going to talk about what Mr. John Walker does. Oh my goodness. Wyatt Russell breaks out this week, man. It doesn't mean that you like John Walker, but I love me some Wyatt Russell. And we will talk about what he does, but same thing. Whole bunch of people catch that whole thing on video. And that one, Bucky maybe not so much. But this video, you can guarantee the entire world is about to see it. And it's going to have major repercussions on the show in the last 2 episodes. Just boom, right there out the gate, before you even start the episode, before you even realize that the title is genius, right? Outside just the whole world's watching, literally the whole world is watching. But then inside the episode, they're working with those things, and it's just so impressive. And this episode is the episode I've been waiting for. Last week certainly was one of the episodes I've been waiting for, man. Really kind of started to find its footing. Doing all the things we want this show to do from an action and a story standpoint. Giving us those payoffs where, you have something that you need to accomplish inside the episode, and that leaves us feeling satisfied and ready for the next chapter of this story. This week does all that and then some. As I said in that non-spoiler review, everybody gets a little in this episode, man. From John Walker to Karli Morgenthau to obviously our main characters, Zemo. We get a little bit of Sharon Carter. She's still popping in and out. But outside of Sharon, everybody else gets legit story this week, and for some of the characters it adds to it. You know, I think we get a really nice chunk with Karli this week that really, you know, fills out her character a lot more. You can really understand where she's coming from and what drives her, but also the fact that, like, the Serum kind of, outside of Steve, and Zemo even says this in the episode, like, Steve was a one of a kind. There's never been another, you know, Captain America outside, you know, of Isaiah Bradley, who may have also not gone bad. But it seems like the Serum tends to make people go a little bit to the bad side. And while, you know, we're able to, like, kind of understand more of Karli's story, you're also able to see in small moments what the Serum does to her. There's a moment in particular we'll talk about with her and Sam, where Sam, like, kind of gets her to say something, and she's like, "That's not what I meant. Like, it wasn't supposed to sound like you were being a supremacist, terrorist." Like, it's a wonderful moment, but it really kind of just pulls on all the things that they're talking about in this episode. So I love all of that stuff, man. Like I said, we get some great stuff with Zemo. We get more Sam and Bucky stuff. And then, like I said, this John Walker thing. This is a big episode for John Walker, and Wyatt Russell is fantastic. So let's not waste any more time, man. I love the heck out of this episode. The action is insane. There's so much good action in this. Like, they packed so much into this 45 minutes or whatever it is. You can't ever tell because it's like 10 minutes of credits, but it was like a 45 minute episode, right in and around where we've been the last couple. And it starts out the gate with a bang, man, and with a bang that you're not expecting. Like, as you know, you get your pre-show, like, hey, remember what happened last week recap. Then we get that Marvel opening, and then before we can even see picture, you just start to hear those sounds that just trigger the ear immediately to Wakanda. And that's where we open up, man. Like, as it fades up, you can see the city, and they're pulling back into the forest of Wakanda. And there's Bucky, and there's Io, and there's a fire, and they're doing some stuff. And what you pretty quickly pick up on is that Io has been working with Bucky to break him of that brainwashed training that he, you know, was given by the Nazis. And Hydra, you know, it's one and the same. But, you know, she's there working on, has clearly been working with him to break that so that he can be free. And this is that moment, you know. And Sebastian Stan, I tell you, man, like, if you weren't sure before, this scene, and it's like a minute and a half at most, just continues to reaffirm that he is one of the best things in this show. He's one of the best things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and hopefully other people can continue to realize how great he is, so maybe there's like other universes he could play in Star Wars. But like, just watching, and again, it's the facial acting, watching his face as Io starts to recite the words, and even before she starts to, he's nervous. You can see it, and he is uncomfortable. He's like, you know, and Io says, I'm going to make sure that you don't hurt anybody or do anything. But, like, this is the final step of your training. And she recites all the words in German. And you just watch Sebastian Stan literally, like, muster up every ounce of fiber of his being to not give in to these words. And the strain and the pain and the single tear. Oh, dude, he's acting his ass off. And as Io gets to those final words, man, he is like... And the tears are rolling, and she stops, and you can tell that he's still there. Like, it's still Bucky. He hasn't flipped to Winter Soldier. And then she just says, "You're free." And you watch him go from this, like, almost painful expression through tears to this absolutely pure, joyful expression through tears. Like, he's finally done it. The path of redemption for Bucky starts at that moment, you know? And you see how much that means to him. And Sebastian Stan, I don't even know if he says 5 words in the scene. Like, but it is the most impactful moment in the entire episode. And there's a lot of impactful moments. I mean, the end is a very impactful moment. But the one that really stuck me, the one that hit me here, was this scene with Bucky and him becoming free of what's held him back from being that, and how much that freedom means to him. And it's just a wonderful way to start. And then the other thing, too, is like as you're zooming in, as you're seeing that joy, it's the first time in the entire scene where you notice that, like, oh, he has no arm. Like, he's sitting there, oh, yeah, that's right, but Bucky's got, like, at this point, they hadn't given him the new arm yet. So he's armless. And anytime it happens, like, later on in the episode, they kind of, like, one of the, Io, I think, disables, like, the arm, it just falls off, and every time it happens, we're like, oh, yeah, that's right, he only has one working arm, and the other one is robotic. But with that said, we do come back to present day, and we pick up right where we left off. Bucky is talking to Io, and he's like, look, he's a means to my end. And he says it in Wakandan, which is awesome. But Io's basically, how could you let him out? Like, he killed King T'Chaka, and, like, whatever you think you understand, you can't understand the embarrassment and the pain that we have of not being the ones to, lock this guy down. And now the person who we let into our world, and that, or me in particular let into my world, and, lived with us and helped become, who he was meant to be with us, that guy just let him out of jail? What are you doing? And Bucky's like I said, he says it in Wakanda, but he's like, he's a means to an end. We're in a situation where he's the expert. We need his help. And I was like, we're here for him. And simply because you are who you are, I'll give you 8 hours. After 8 hours, he's ours. And you're just like, oh, are we going to get some Dora Milaje up in this episode? And then the episode goes on, and you kind of forget about the Dora Milaje until they come back. We'll get there. But you come back, and we are where we left off last week. We're in Riga. I didn't pick up on it last week when I was watching, and then rewatched it this morning before this one came on, and realized oh, Riga, that's where Mama Donya is. That's where they are, and apparently Baron Zemo's got a pad in Riga. I was not expecting him to have a pad in Latvia, but he does. And it is swanky, man. Like, it is a really, really nice apartment. And as Bucky's coming in, you see him coming out, like, toweling off the hair, like, fresh shower, fresh robe. He's poured himself a glass of whiskey or scotch or something of that, man. Like, it looks like Zemo is not, like, a prisoner at all. He looks like he's living the life. And he proceeds to start this conversation that's one of the best in the episode, and one of the best so far in the series. He first you have, I think Zemo and Sam are just kind of having like a little bit of a back and forth or whatever, and they're kind of chit-chatting, and all of a sudden Bucky sees the Karli bombing, and he's like, oh, Karli just bombed a global GRC building, the Global Repatriation Council. And immediately Zemo's like, oh, so she's, advancing now. Like, she like, there were people killed, people hurt, which is what we saw at the end of last week. And Zemo goes into this whole bit, man, that's just absolutely brilliant about, like, if these two have what it takes to complete this mission. He is prepared, and he's ready to do what he knows he's got to do, which is most likely kill Karli. And, he sees them as a supremacist, right? He's like, look at what Karli's doing. She's progressing in her supremacistness, I guess. But she's he looks at her as a supremacist, and that power, that comes with this serum, is the type of delusional power that fueled, he lists off the Nazis, which, Hydra, that's where he comes from, Ultron, and then the Avengers. And immediately Bucky and Sam are both like, hey, oh, easy, those are our friends. But, it's the same thing to Zemo, man. Like, all of these people they have this power, you know, and he just believes that superhumans cannot be separated from supremacist ideals. And anyone that has that serum is already headed down that path, and the only end game is either you kill them or they kill you. And do you have what that takes? And Sam immediately is like, there's got to be a way. Like, I've seen, you know, I understand where she's coming from. Like, you had the entire world come together for 5 years. You know, there were no more borders, and you know, it was just trying to rebuild. And people that you hated were now your neighbors because you just needed anybody to help rebuild. You know, it didn't matter who it was. And then 5 years later, everybody comes back, and you know, all of that goes away, and things go right back to how it was. He's like, you know, you see her bringing supplies and stuff to some of these communities that need them. Like, you can understand why she's doing what she's doing. There has to be a way to talk her down. And while Zemo doesn't think it's possible, and Sam does, Bucky's like, look, maybe it isn't, you know, impossible. The serum didn't corrupt Steve. And immediately, I love, man, Daniel Bruhl's so good. You know, he immediately is just like, touche. But there is only one Captain America, and he looks right at Sam. He's like, right, like, there's never been another Steve Rogers. You get one of those. But he's like, outside of that, this serum doesn't have a great track record with people being good on this serum. You know what I mean? They seem to be, you know, more susceptible to be turned, you know, or to go down those paths. And they're like, okay, so how are we going to find them? And Sam goes, well, you know, this seems to be like a very tight-knit community. He's like, well, my TT. But he's like, TT? What is T? All right, my aunt, man. Like, that's, you know, my aunt is, you know, was real big in the community. When she passed, they had literally like a celebration. So they're probably having one of those. We should go try to find out. And that's what they do. That's kind of like their team huddle, break moment. Like, they're going to go out and try to see if they can't find where the funeral is. We then jump to the Flag Smashers, who are coming out of listening to a radio cast on what they've been up to. So they're hearing, like, you know, the bombing off. This is how many people were killed. This is how many people were injured. And then, you know, it kind of mentions like how their impact is it's got a worldwide reach. Like, what the Flag Smashers are doing is reaching many places, and just because they blow something like that up doesn't mean that they're not winning people over and doing things like that. And again, just kind of speaks to the whole world is watching, and the fact that like a lot of that is because the reach of the Flag Smashers is worldwide at this point. Then we jump back, and you see Sam go into a building. Bucky kind of just chills and, you know, is keeping an eye on Zemo. And we see Sam go through this whole building, and everybody asks no answers. Sorry, I don't know. Just get up, walk, and leave a room. And, you know, he's getting kind of frustrated. Finally, he stumbles upon, you know, a guy who looks to be teaching a kid, and it's either he's being a teacher or he's the kid's dad, one of the two. But Sam comes in and he's like, you know, do you know, you know, Momma Donya? She was a refugee here, and it's a wonderful moment and just another beautiful piece of writing. And just week in, week out, the elegance and the sophistication to the writing just continues to impress me. But the guy goes, look, we're not refugees. Like, we don't have anything to seek refuge from. You know, that doesn't make us refugees. We're international displaced persons. And yes, I know who you are. But just because I know who you are, like, you're coming into our place, and we don't trust outsiders, like, at all. And, you know, basically tells Sam, like, hey, sorry, but, like, you're not going to get any help here, so you might as well just leave. So Sam goes back downstairs, and, you know, basically no luck for him, and you see Zemo walking into this playground, and back at his pad in, you know, his Riga pad, he had offered these guys Turkish delights. He's like, you know, they're irresistible. And when we see him come into the playground, he's singing Baba Black Sheep. like such a random thing to be singing, but Daniel Bruhl like just singing it in this really subtle way. Like it was creepy, but like perfect. You know, it kind of rang. It reminded me of Steve Buscemi in Con Air. You know, when he's and I'm not saying that Daniel Bruhl is trying to eat children, but I am saying that, like, you know, just the way he strolls in, it has that vibe of uneasiness. You know, like you shouldn't trust this guy, and then he pours all these Turkish, you know, candies on this little table, and he goes, "Turkish delights." He's like, "Go ahead, take them." And the kid's like, you know, take him. He's like, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody." You know, he asks them the same question: Where is the funeral for Momma Donya? And this one little girl who's kind of having a back and forth with him is like, "I know." And he's like, "Come here, tell me." And she tells him, and then he's like, "Okay, those two guys behind me, do not trust them. Nothing they say is true. They're bad guys. Don't tell them anything." Like, you know, and that just all that does is it just allows Zemo to continue to be in control. And it's one of those things where you continually find him positioning himself to be in control or in a position to manipulate somebody. So he goes and he gets, you know, the intel that they need. So they go back to Zemo's place, and Sam just kind of reiterates, you know, the whole concept of the refugees, you know, or these international displaced persons, and how, like, when you see what it is they're going through. I mean, I think the guy says, like, they were supposed to get more teachers, and the GRC was like, "We'll do it," and that was 6 months ago, and nothing's happened. You can understand why they can kind of get on board with what Karli is about, and he doesn't necessarily think that what Karli is, you know, trying to do or what she's, you know, going after is wrong. It's just the way in which she's going about it. And while they're talking about that, they're finally like, "What did that little kid say? Like, what was that all about?" And he's like, "Oh, she told me, like, where the funeral is." And you know, as soon as he reveals that, you know, Bucky's just like, "Well, you know, the Dora Milaje are coming for you, you know, because remember I talked about that, so maybe we should just give you back to them now." And I don't remember what Zemo says, but he says something, and Bucky don't like it, man. Like, he smashes something, and Sam comes over and is immediately like, "Just dude, don't engage him. Like, don't feed into that stuff. Like, let it be." You know, because all he's gonna do is extort you and do that head tilt thing. And literally, when he says that, Zemo's head is already tilted, and he just straightens it back up. Like, oh, dude, like these three guys, I could watch this all day long, man. You know, I mean, like these two, perfect chemistry. But Daniel Bruhl being mixed in is just a lot of fun. So anyway, you know, Bruhl, as always, just knows how to push everybody's buttons. And then Sam calls Sharon and is like, "Look, Zemo got a tip on where this funeral is, but I sort of need some eyes, like somewhere." And she's like, "I got some satellites. I'll help you out." And this episode just started to make me feel like maybe she is the power broker. I know last week I tweeted out fairly emphatically, like, I get it, man. It makes sense. Like, it would totally make sense. But those eyes, I just go back to the eyes on that graffiti. They look like Daniel Bruhl's eyes. But, you know, he does not want super soldier serum. Power broker did. When Sam calls Sharon, not only is she talking about, like, "Oh, I got satellites and all these options and things," but, like, she's walking through what looks like a gauntlet of just huge dudes all holding guns and things, man. Like, she's got this swag to her where I was like, maybe she is the power broker. I'm sticking with Daniel Bruhl because I'm pretty sure those were his eyes in that graffiti. But, like, for a second, Emily Van Camp is selling that she might be the power broker without, like, trying to sell it, right? Like, it's not like she's giving us any reason to think it other than just, like, the way she's carrying herself, the people she's around, like, just the access to things that she has. It would make sense, but I'm sticking with Bruhl because I'm like 99% positive those were his eyes on that graffiti art. But yes, Sharon's like, "Cool, I'm in, I'll help you guys out." So then we jump over to Karli and one of her flag smasher henchmen, so to speak, and they're headed into a cemetery, and they go to a specific mausoleum. There's like a little step, and they push some stones, and it reveals like an opening that has this fanny pack in it. And inside the fanny pack are the remaining 12 vials of super soldier serum. And her and her henchmen start talking, and, you know, she again is prying and asking, like, is what we're doing right? You know, like, do you think what we're doing is right? Was taking the super soldier serum right? Giving this to more people, is it right? And the guy just looks at her and goes, honestly, if you feel uncomfortable or uneasy, he's like, I think he said either his dad or his grandpa was like, you know, anytime you felt uneasy or uncomfortable about doing something, probably meant you were doing the right thing. Which is like a really twisted way to look at something, right? Like if something makes you feel uneasy, you're probably doing the wrong thing. But here, you know, the way he sells it, it's more like, well, if you got that like uneasy nervousness, like it's because you're probably about to do the right thing. And then, you know, they start kind of talking about symbols. I mentioned in my non-spoiler how I love how the show allows everybody to have a take on Cap and the Shield. And this guy talks about how he looked up to Cap, idolized Cap. And what he realizes is that, you know, Cap's days are gone, man. You know, back when Cap was doing his thing, it was good and bad. But now there's all this gray. And he's like, I never thought there would be another Captain America until I saw you. Talking to Karli, and he's like, you're what the world needs now. You know, you're the person that can show them that, like, heroes don't have to stay clean. Like, they can get their hands dirty, and to do this work, you kind of have to get your hands dirty. To which Karli kind of starts to respond to and talking about, like, the mantles and you know, what Captain America stood for and what that shield is, and she's like, if anything, that shield should be destroyed. Second person now on the show, we've been like, we should destroy this indestructible vibranium shield. Both her and Sam. And throughout the episode, you kind of start to see a lot of parallels between the two. And then they eventually will get a chance to converse where you really come to a middle ground and understanding between the two of them. So I like that they kind of build all these things with Karli that kind of have similarities to elements of Sam's character. Yeah, she's like, maybe, you know, that shield should be destroyed is what should happen, and gives you kind of like the feeling like I'll go destroy that shield, man. You know, so then we sort of jump back to the boys, but from a perspective that's totally different. We're walking with John Walker and Hoskins, and we hear Walker yell out, you know, to the guys like, "What are you doing? How you break him out? Why'd you break him out? All this stuff. You can't be doing all these things. We gotta start working together. You guys just going off on your own. None of this is working." And he is just a really whiny leader. I don't know, like, I'm telling you, Wyatt Russell's been so good, man. Like, he does all the things that just irritate you and push your buttons enough where you're like, I don't like this guy. And just the way that he's talking to other Avengers, I mean, not that he is one yet, you know, he just has the suit and the shield, but, like, the way he talks to these Avengers, just the way he talks in general, like, it's not how Steve or Cap would talk or handle a situation. And you can just tell that it is just getting to him, that nobody is respecting him, nobody's doing what he thinks needs to be done, and he's just had enough. And, you know, he just kind of goes off, and he's like, you know, breaking this guy out of prison, and Bucky's like, well, he broke himself out of prison, technically, and, like, he is pretty helpful. Like, he knows stuff that's helping us out. And, you know, they're like, fine, then you're going to take us with you, and we're going to go arrest Karli Morgenthau. And Sam's like, whoa, no. Like, I'm going to go in, like, solo. I'm going to go talk to her. I think I can level with her. I can come, you know, from you know, at an even playing field and talk her down. Because I think if we can talk her down, that's the way we got to go. Walker doesn't want anything to do with it, but as Hoskins, the level-headed of these two, hears this, he's like, actually, if we can talk her down, that is the better option. So they go to, you know, the church where Mama Donya's funeral is happening. And as they get in there, Walker still isn't okay with this. And, you know, they kind of have to chill him out. He's like, fine, you get 10 minutes. And he slaps cuffs on Zemo, cuffs him to, like, a boiler tank. And the whole time Sam is gone. Every time we cut back, man, my dude is just like, no, this isn't my plan. We shouldn't be doing this. But in reality, Sam's plan is the one that's working, man. And we get this really, really, really wonderful sequence where Sam attends the funeral from like up high. The room they're in, there's like a second level with windows, and he's standing there, and Karli sees him, and Karli's given a pretty wonderful eulogy that really kind of gives you, you know, those answers to some of the questions that we had. You know, her mom and dad and her pretty much her entire family were all killed. She had nobody, and Mama Donya was the one who put clothes on her back and gave her a meal. And like she says, Mama Donya was someone who saved not just her, but many of the people that were in that room and in that community. You know, she was like the town mom, and she looked out for everybody. And you could tell, like, just how special this woman was by the way Karli was talking. And then, of course, Karli utilizes the situation to kind of bring back, like, the idea of, like, one world, one people, and, you know, almost kind of selling a little bit of what she is typically selling, but constantly keeping an eye on Sam, who's not doing anything, being very respectful. Everybody leaves. It's just Karli, and, you know, she's, like, looking at the camera, and she starts talking like she can hear Sam coming. She's like, I saw you up there. And, you know, Sam basically just comes to reason with her. And he's like, look, I get where you're coming from, man. Like, I understand, like, your pain and the struggles that you're having and, you know, where you're coming from. But how you're doing it just doesn't work. Like, you know, and she's like, what if you're changing, like, what if I'm changing the world for good? And he's like, by killing people? He's like, killing people ain't changing the world for anything. And they just have this long, pretty elongated conversation back and forth, and every once in a while we jump back, you know, we see Walker like eye up Bucky and be like, this must be so easy for you with all that super soldier serum in your veins, just think you can do whatever you want, because John Walker's just a regular guy, and like, you just, again, like everything he's doing, you're just like, I hate you. And then, you know, you jump back, and Sam, you know, brings up to Karli, he's like, look, I know a guy who knows more about super soldier serum than anybody I know. And that guy thinks you're a supremacist. And Karli is like, what? No, that's everything I'm against. I'm trying to take down the supremacists. You know, like these beasts and these corporations and these companies. And, you know, they're what needs to be taken down. And she's like, and I will kill anyone that gets in my way. And Sam is like, come again? And it was like one of these just beautiful, like he lulls her right into the trap where it's like, if I feed you this and you respond the way that you respond, you've already gone there. And he doesn't even say it, but he's like, you know, oh, you know, you treat me into sounding like what? Like a terrorist, like a supremacist, like you're just proving my point. But again, like even playing field, level-headed conversation between the two, and you can start to see a mutual respect building. You know, and of course, that is the moment that Walker decides to burst in. He's yelling, Karli Morgenthau, you're under arrest. And she immediately looks at Sam like, what did you were just lulling me into a false sense of security so that your team could get here? Screw you, dude. And kind of just starts a smitty fight. You know, people start kind of like wrestling, you know, tussling or whatever. I think she knocks Walker down, gets away from Sam. She takes off. Bucky goes after her. There's a lot of stair hopping. It's one of these things where all these Captain America movies and now, you know, this show, I think, falls under that umbrella of storytelling. This very much feels like a Captain America story. But if it's going to feel like a story, it's going to look like the action that this story should have, man. A lot of running up and down stairs, hopping stairs, going from like one level to another level very quickly. Very reminiscent of a lot of Winter Soldier things. But, you know, as she kind of takes a quick turn or whatever, Bucky comes up empty. Sam comes in, he's empty. And they're like, damn, we lost her. And we cut to Karli. You see her running around. She's in, like, you know, it looks like a basement of, like, a giant, like, cleaning factory. For, like, laundry and stuff. But she's, like, behind one of these machines, and as she's coming around a corner, who's there but freaking good old I Escaped Baron Zemo. There's a shot where after Walker goes and breaks in, they go back to that boiler and you just see the handcuffs hanging there and you're like, oh, Zemo got out and he's coming for Karli, and he takes a shot at her. He hits her once, second one I think misses her, but she falls down and all the vials of super soldier serum hit the floor. And this is the moment where I was like, maybe he's not the power broker, because if the power broker wanted the super soldier serum, I don't know why Zemo's just initial reaction is like, is that what I think it is? I'm gonna smash all the super soldier serum. Like, he just goes on a stomping spree. And as he's, like, destroying every vial, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, what comes flying in but Cap's shield hits him smack in the like, it smacks him so hard in the face, and he just drops. But in the course of that happening, that allows Karli to kind of escape. And by the time Walker gets there, you know, one guy's down. Karli's nowhere to be seen. But then he spots one vial that rolled away from Zemo into a corner, takes it, pockets it. And, like, the minute he took it, you were like, he's gonna use it. Like, there's no way that he doesn't use it. And then we pop over to Karli, who's now patched herself up a little bit from her gunshot wound. And she is talking to one of her guys about, like, you know, when they first got to this place, you know, where they were, you know, where Mama Donya was, that compound. I'm assuming that was, you know, post the snap. She's like, never in a million years would I have thought that I would end up with, you know, people that I would have been taught or raised to hate, you know, and all of these like-minded individuals coming together. I just thought it was fate. She's like, now I would trade fate in for 12 more super soldiers, and we don't have any left, you know, and we got these guys coming after us, and, you know, the guy's like, we could take those guys. And another guy comes over and he's like, power broker's saying that he's probably gonna kill you. And the other guy's like, now we've got people coming from all angles. Like, this is not, you know, gonna lead to the best thing. And, you know, what she wants to do is like, look, we'll worry about Power Broker later. We don't need to worry about him right now. Right now we need to worry about Falcon and Winter Soldier and Cap and that Hoskins dude. And so what our plan needs to be is to break them up, separate them, and then kill Captain America. And that'll kind of be that kind of like flagship statement. Like, you know, you don't like the GRC, kill the GRC's new symbol. And we go back to Zemo's place, and he is feet up on the couch with like this ice pack or like a cold rag on his head because he got trucked by a freaking shield. And he's talking to Sam about the super soldier serum. He's like, would you have taken it if you had the ability to? And Sam was like, no. He's like, no hesitation. That's good. You know, he kind of likes hearing that. And he stresses, he's like, super soldiers should not exist. And Sam is immediately like, ain't that what crazy people say? Like those crazy leaders and, you know, the people that are doing all the bad stuff. Like, that's the type of thing they say. You know, like a dictator or someone of that level. Like, they shouldn't exist. Like that's where you're going. Like, Zemo, you've been pretty level-headed sometimes. But, like, how they shouldn't exist, that's a lot. And then Bucky comes in and it's just like, there is something wrong with Walker. And even Sam's like, you're just putting together that there's something wrong with Walker. And, you know, Bucky's like, no, like, Walker is crazy. He's like, I know crazy because I am crazy. And trust me, this dude is crazy. And I think we as an audience all understand that he is crazy. And as crazy as he is, perfect moment to, boom, burst through the doors and be like, we're done. You know, again, I'm done with all this stuff. I'm taking you to prison. I'm just, like, it's that I'm tired of being disrespected. Nobody listening, so I'm going to just yell and shout louder than everybody so that you will listen. And, you know, immediately Sam and Bucky are like, slow your roll. Like, all you've done has not helped us at all. And at least this guy has gotten us to places. You know, like, we've been able to figure some stuff out. And Walker's not having it, and he's like, you know what, fine, Sam, that's what it's got to be. You need to put the shield down, we'll even it up, you know, so that we're on the same playing field. And right as they're about to go, all of a sudden, spear, like right past Walker's head, and you're like, yes, Dora, Milaje, kick the crap out of John Walker. And that is exactly what goes down, man. It's like the Dora Milaje against everybody, pretty much, man. Like, you know, they're fighting Hoskins, they're fighting Walker, and at first Bucky and Sam are just sitting back, and Sam eventually is like, we should do something. And like Io is just going at Walker, then someone else is going at Walker multiple times. He's got like the spear pointed at his head, and right as I don't remember who it was, but as one of them was about to like go for the kill, I think it was Io was about to move in on the kill on Walker. Bucky like grabs it. Another one goes for Hoskins, and you see Falcon come in, and they're trying to like you hear Bucky shouting like, "Io, chill! Like this isn't how we handle things. Like you gotta chill out and like let this all settle." And they're just like going at it. Meanwhile, you see Zemo just kind of sneaking off behind everybody, goes into the bathroom, closes the doors, and you're like, "Oh, he is so long gone." But as they're going, like you're starting to see like Walker get really, really, really frustrated. And as that's happening, he like goes to get his shield, and another spear just goes through the two straps and into a table. So he's literally like locked in, and he can't go anywhere, which was absolutely beautiful. And then Io just comes up and starts like hitting Bucky in the shoulder, like just with her hand, like just like this, and she does it like 4, 5, maybe 5 times, and all of a sudden you just hear like mechanisms, and the whole arm just falls off. And it was like one of like even Sam was like, "Did you know that they could do that?" Like, and Bucky's like, "No." He puts the iron, it's like, phew, like it's so fast, like revving it back up. But it was pretty funny to watch. Io just disable the arm and fall off, and then they leave because Zemo's gone. So they're out to try to go find Zemo, figure out where he disappeared to, and you got Walker just on the ground, and my dude is flat out devastated. Like he's just sitting there, and like Falcon and Winter Soldier head out, and Hoskins is like trying to get him to come around, and he's like, "They weren't even super soldiers," and like got my ass handed to me because the Dora Milaje are freaking badass, and like Disney Plus, get on that show. I want a Dora Milaje show, man. Like anytime they show up in movies, now on this, I just get so excited. Give me more of the spear wielding, beautiful women of Wakanda known as the Dora Milaje, man, because I could watch those women kick ass all day long. But they go out trying to find Zemo. Walker is devastated, and you see Sam and Bucky go into the bathroom, and Sam's just like, "I can't believe he pulled an El Chapo." And there it is, man. He's pulled the grate out from under the ground. He's gone into the sewers from the bathroom. So you then jump to see, Walker and Hoskins. They're getting like coffee or something. They're just kind of chilling. Someone comes up, asks for an autograph, and you're now seeing, Hoskins, and you're seeing Walker look to Hoskins for answers. Like I just got beat up by a bunch of women who aren't super soldiers. I think the only way I can be Captain America is to take the super soldier serum. Don't you think? And he doesn't say it flat out like that, but he asks Hoskins, he's like, "Would you take the super soldier serum if you had the chance?" Hoskins is like, "Hell yeah, I would, man." He's like, "Why wouldn't you?" Like, and Walker is like, wouldn't you be uneasy, like, if it doesn't play like it leads you to bad things? She's like, "Come on, man. Steve Rogers, no problem. He wasn't corrupted. Karli Morgenthau, different story. She is. It's like, you're the most honorable man I know. Like, if there was super soldier serum, like, I wouldn't be worried that you or me would get corrupted." And then Walker is just like, "Yeah, but like, those things that we did in Afghanistan to get those medals, like, they weren't necessarily good or the right things or felt like the right things to be doing. And like, the serum would be maybe similar." And Hoskins is just like, "Dude, just think about how many lives we would have saved if we would have been on the serum." And like yeah, if there was an opportunity, I would have been all over it. And like as you're leaving that scene, like Walker is taking that serum before the episode is over. But now we jump to a really interesting kind of scene out of nowhere. All of a sudden we're on the docks back in New Orleans, and Sarah's phone goes off, and it's Karli. And Karli is calling Sarah. She's trying to get in touch with Sam. She wants to talk to Sam one-on-one. She doesn't think that he's working for Captain America, but she's not positive. So she calls Sarah, and Sarah immediately is like, I've seen you on TV. Like, what do you want with my brother? And she's like, I'm not trying to harm him. I just want to understand him better. If you could pass this information along to him, that would be great. Because I think he could be an asset to us. And then she says something about Captain America, and Sarah's like, I didn't choose Captain America. She's like, who would want me to choose? Like, my world doesn't matter to America, so why would I care about their mascot? And it was like one of these lines where I was like, damn, man, that is deep. Like, deep, man. Like, my world. And it's so true, and we've seen it like multiple times throughout the course of the season. But here's that beat that we were kind of missing in this one, where it was like, yeah, because of my skin color, my world doesn't matter to the people who make decisions. So I don't care at all about the mascot. Like, why would I care that guy is Captain America? He's not my Captain America. I didn't pick him. But I will relay this info to Sam. And Karli hangs up. Sam then gets a call. Sam is like, who called you? What's going on? And he's like, you take the boys, you get out, go wherever you gotta go, cash only, don't use cards, and I'm gonna handle things. And Sarah passes along the details. He's supposed to go on his own with no one else, and Bucky and him both are like, no way that's happening. Bucky comes along with, and Sam's pissed, man. Like, he comes in, he is hot, man. I mean, he just, top of his lungs, Karli! He goes up there, he's like, calling my sister, that's where we're at? She's like, you didn't come along. He's like, enough of that. What do you think you're doing calling my sister, threatening my nephews? Like, this isn't a game that we're going to play. And just as they're kind of starting to get going, all of a sudden Sharon comes into Sam's ear and is like, it's Walker. He's on the move. He's found them. I don't know how. And that leads Sam to take off. Bucky sprints off. Karli sprints off. They all start sprinting to the same exact location, trying to get to, the spot that, Karli obviously knows where she's going. Bucky and Sam are being told by Sharon where to head. They're all chasing to try to stop Walker from probably doing something stupid. And all three are running to the same spot. Wherever the flag smashers are holed up, that's where Walker is, and that's where they're headed. And you see Walker and Hoskins come in together, and I think the camera follows like Walker for a second, and you come back and Hoskins is gone. And it's like the first tip that we know that Walker is on the super soldier serum is that like he literally like turns a corner and just stops and like is hardcore trying to listen, and then hears like a faint scream. And you're like, oh man, if his hearing is improved, he definitely took that serum. And as he's trying to find Hoskins, he runs into a bunch of flag smashers, and he just starts throwing down, man. And like the way he's hitting these guys, you're like, this dude is definitely charged up. And if you weren't sure, he hits one guy so hard he flies like 20, 30 feet into a wall on a staircase where Sam is, and another guy tries to hit Walker. Walker catches this lead pipe and like literally bends it. And Sam's eyes, you see Sam go, like, and as Walker's finishing up or whatever, Sam's basically just kind of like, what did you do? We jump to Hoskins, who has been tied up and has now come to, and he's alone in this room. And you'd think you'd do better, like at least take the knives out of his pockets, but he has like, I guess, a hidden knife, gets it out and starts to cut himself free. And while that's going on, we go to Bucky, who's fighting a different flag smasher on the stairs. Like I said, man, these Winter Soldier, Captain America vibey Marvel things, a lot of fighting on the staircases, and you see guys jumping and hopping, and Stan beats the crap out of the dude, just hops, kind of has one of them real smooth landings, and then kicks a dude so hard he goes through this like little brick wall. And then one of the best lines and deliveries from Stan, the whole, like, he sees him, he looks at him, he's like, stay there. He goes on, go try to find, where everybody else is. And while that's going on, you get this really, I was conflicted because it's so well shot, it's so well choreographed, but you get this like little 2-minute or so bit where it's like mostly just Falcon and Cap. You know, you got Sam and John Walker fighting side by side. John Walker is pummeling dudes. Falcon's using his wings. There's one moment where he gets kind of like caught up, and he actually uses the power like from the jet to like burst a blast of flame in this guy's face, so he kind of falls back, and then he's able to take him out. Like, just some really awesome stuff going on through the whole thing. And as they're all fighting, Hoskins finally gets up. Bucky gets to the main room, and at this point, like, someone's thrown, I think 2 knives have already been thrown at Walker, and he's like, "What's with all the knives?" And when Bucky shows up, someone throws a knife, and what does Bucky do? Catches that knife right away, and then he starts throwing some knives. But like he's now in, and everybody is just fighting everybody. And finally, you see Karli making a move, and Hoskins runs in full speed, tackles her, and they kind of tumble, and she pops up right on her feet. And as he gets up, she punches him square in the chest, and he flies into this column, hits his head, man, like Snyder cut Wonder Woman punching that dude into a wall, man. Like, you see a little bit of blood hit, and you're just like, uh-oh. And like the way he hits the ground and just kind of slumps over, and there's blood on his mouth already, you're like, yeah, he's dead. no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And as Karli realizes what happened, she takes off. Walker heads toward, Hoskins. Sam and Bucky go to pursue her, and he, like, it's like, Hoskins, get, Lamar, and like kind of does one of these, and the head slouches back over, and you're like, dead. And you just start to see all of this, and he ain't on the Sebastian Stan facial acting scale or level. Maybe he's on the scale, but you can just see everything tensing up in his face, and he just gets up and he runs through this window, and he comes down, does one of those cap lands with the shield onto a van, hops down, sees a different flag smasher, the guy that Karli was hanging out most of this episode with, not the dude with the longer hair, but the guy with the shorter hair, sees him, treks after him, and like this dude like grabs like I thought it was a garbage can, but apparently it was made of concrete. He swings it, and you forget, like, super soldier serum these guys can do, swings it. Now super soldier serumed up, John Walker just punches through it with the shield, and is just like, where is she? Tries to chase this guy down. You see Karli being chased by Sam and Bucky, and he chases this guy into the middle of the square, and like hits him in where he lands, like on this fountain, and he's laying on the ground in a way that just looks very familiar. Now, one of the things this series has done really well is, recreate moments from the cinematic universe. You get that Avengers moment where Sam's like, I got a plan, jumps out the plane, and then Bucky just follows behind him, much like Iron Man going like, I am the plan, going out, and then Cap going, all right, I'm gonna go, jump out with you. You get another recreated sequence here, and like you can see it happening. And like the guy is just on this freaking fountain. He's like, I didn't do it. Like, I'm not the one that killed your boy. And Walker just comes in, and he raises the shield and poof, bashes dude. They finally show one shot where like you can actually see hits him clean in the chest. Like, I thought he was gonna just straight up decapitate him, but you see one of the shots hits in the chest right where Cap would have hit Iron Man, and then stopped. Right, like hit Iron Man, was gonna come down again, and then like doesn't. Right, like can walk away. Walker, no such thing. He just keeps going, and then you finally see like the dude's hand is just all bloody, and there's blood on the stairs, and you look up, and there is a massive mob of people, and every single one of them's got their phones out, recording Captain America kill a man in broad daylight who basically surrendered. And like you heard the guy scream multiple times, I didn't do it, don't hurt me. And then he kills him. And the whole episode, or the whole back portion, this whole stretch, every time we've seen Walker, he is like twitching, and like you could just tell, almost like a junkie, and he's just got this look in his eye like he has lost his mind. And then it like sort of hits him that like he just killed a man in broad daylight, and like in that crowd the girl you're trying to get, Karli, she sees it. Falcon and Winter Soldier come running in, and they see the aftermath. And my dude just puts the shield on and stands up. And as he stands up, it's like it would be like a creepy comic book cover, but it's just him, the building, and the sky above him. And then he's holding the shield, and the whole bottom portion of the shield is just covered in blood. And you're like, it's such a beautifully striking image, even if it's not an image that you want to see associated with Captain America. It is gorgeous. And you just sit there, and again, it just kind of reaffirms, like, from day one, we've been saying the Skywalker, he ain't Captain America, man. Like, utilizing guns. Now he's just flat out killing people in broad daylight. Like, and again, that super soldier serum working on the negatives, it would seem like, with Walker, and to the point where, like, he definitely just read it out, man. Like, just full-blown rage and just went to town. And that, of course, is where the episode ends. We got 2 left. Zemo has escaped. He's just out in the world. The Dora Milaje are chasing him, and everybody else just witnessed Captain America kill a man. And I can't wait to see where you go at from there. Like, that is going to be all over social media in the next episode. I'm sure it'll be all over the news. There's going to be fallout from that, and then you're still down Zemo. No flag smashers caught. Next episode could be the episode where somebody yells at somebody, like a superior, like, you know, either like giving it to Walker. Maybe this is how Walker loses the shield and ends up back with Sam and Bucky. I mean, we've seen all those what looked like training with the shield. Like, is that going to be like the last thing we see in the season? Who knows? But I am so pumped to find out where we go, because, like I said, this show is now clicking in all cylinders, man. Like, it is just rolling, and you ain't gonna be able to stop this freight train, man. It's so good. And like I said, this episode gave us everything. It gave us a really good story. It gave every character like legit screen time and moments. It gave us great action action sequences. That Dora Milaje scene is so good. I'm like, give me a TV show. I want a show with the Dora Milaje. Like, that would be awesome. But I mean, that stuff was great. John Walker, Captain America, I hate him. Best episode, though, for the character, and best performance in the show thus far from Russell. Like, just, so good. And when this show can do all of these things this well, the last 2 episodes are going to be so freaking good, and I cannot wait. The question is, can you? What'd you think of this week's episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 4, The Whole World is Watching? What'd you dig, man? This is the spoiler review. Go crazy down below. Let me know all the things that you liked, things that you didn't like, what popped to you, what was your favorite moment, what do you think of Bloody Shield Captain America? What do you think of Hoskins dying? I did not see that coming. There's one point where the camera actually went back to Hoskins' head, and I was like, is he going to get up? And then whatever Walker is about to do is just going to be a repercussion that he can't even justify because his boy is not dead. Did you see that coming? Did you think that's what was going to happen? Did you like how they kind of restaged that Civil War moment between Iron Man and Cap? Only here just went all the way with it. What do you think's going on with Karli? Did you enjoy, the character development she got this episode? What'd you think of what's going on with Sam and Bucky? It seems like you got a show about these 2 dudes, and we're always talking about everybody else that's going on. Where is Zemo? Zemo's gone again? Where do you think he's off to? By the way, how awesome is the fur on his coat? Like, just like the white and spotted fur that would have been on his suits in the comics. Like, the little things that I love. So if you picked up on details like that, just anything you're thinking, good, bad, indifferent, about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 4, The Whole World's Watching, leave it down below in the comments section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man as we approach our final 2 Fridays with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Just anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailers, you want to be here for all that. You want to show a little love, support. then come join C-Maniac Nation, baby. Come be here all the time. Get all the C-Man love and fun. And you can do that by jumping over there, hitting that subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Man Cinema, sit down. I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Oh, hey, what's going on? You must be sticking around because you're looking for more content featuring this guy. Well, guess what? You're in the right place. You can check out more videos right here and right here. And if you have and you want to come join that C-Maniac Nation, you can hit that subscribe right over there.